In this episode of the Iron Empire, we get the ultimate. When you mix an X Series Falcon with an E Series Falcon, you get the XG Falcon Ute. Now, what makes the XG so good? Well, for starters, you get the upgraded 4-litre overhead cam motor, you get the factory 4-speed overdrive automatic, plus 4-wheel disc brakes. What more could you want? So in this episode, we dragged this thing out of the paddock where it was looking like an absolute pile, and now, well, it looks like a bit of a lower pile, but it actually looks heaps better. So let's get into it. Okay, so we've got a very spur of the moment decision that I'm going to drag the XG out and try and make something of this thing. I've got so many projects on the go. I shouldn't be working on this one. It's ridiculous, but I keep seeing utes online that I like, and I'm like, I've got one in the paddock. So let's do something with the one in the paddock. It's a bit of a beater. I pulled the battery out the other day, actually put it on charge, and I just done this now. And this is all that happened, right? This is running straight LPG. Oh, make a lie out of me. It fucking fired straight up. Literally, I haven't fired up for like 12 months and it fired right up. And now that it's warm, it won't fire again. Anyway, if I can get this thing running, I'm going to drive around, I'm going to get the hose off, and then maybe we can look at doing something with this thing, because it looks like an absolute dog's breakfast. Couple of primes. Oh, come on, Bessie. Here we go. All right, so it's got an almighty lifter tick going on here. I did check the oil and it took a little bit, but it's still a bit ticky. Hopefully that'll go away. But anyway, I'm gonna drive. I've got 2 flat tires. That one's bloody off the rim. I can't be fucking dealing with it. I'm just gonna drive around the front and give this thing a hose off. I done a video on this a little while back. I don't know how long ago, but I don't even know what I done. I think it might have been the first fire up. I think it might have been up at my neighbour Scruff's paddock, and I brought it over here and it's just rotted in this paddock. So full on lifter noise. I don't remember that ever being a thing, so hopefully we get away with it. I don't know. I hate things sitting around, and especially when I kind of like them. See if we can move it. So I've got a feeling the brakes might be a bit rusty and the tyre's fucked. Well, that tyre ain't getting any worse, so we may as well just run it. As long as it's going to damage the rims. Choose what wheels to put on it, decide how far I want to go with it. I think for starters I'm going to get rid of these AU seats. I think they're AU. Not sure. They've been retrimmed or something. Fuck knows, they're going to go anyway. We're going to make this thing look a little bit better than it does. This model is always, I've got a soft spot for this model. I bought it for like, I can't remember, maybe 700 bucks, I keep forgetting. But it was defected for something stupid, don't know. We'll fix it. I only just put the bloody pressure washer away this morning too. That'll teach me. Alright, here we go. Had the LTD out today. That thing's going alright. New lifters in that thing. New rocker gear in that thing. Bloody 6 cylinders. Still a bit ticky. It's been used as a bloody bin. Typical workhorse. Absolute beater. Anyway, let's get cleaning. All right, so what I've got mixed up here in a pressure washer thing, little spray bottle, is just some suds and also a product called GT Iron Eater. I got put onto this by Josh. Shout out to Josh, he's the guru when it comes to polishing and he's helped us out heaps in the past. He put me onto this product, which is possibly the worst smelling shit you've ever smelt on the planet. But what it does is it literally eats all the metal that's in the paint and it'll turn the paint, or all the contaminants will turn like a purple color. You'll see it run off the car. Pretty impressive shit. It's sort of essentially the same as sort of like doing like a clay pad or a clay block or whatever. This is meant to be like a chemical formula of that. I would probably still suggest if something's really brittle, it's still going to need a clay pad as well, but this is going to do a lot of the work. So anyway, we're going to get spraying and see how this thing comes up. I guess the years of neglect means it's going to look even better because we've let it go all moldy and shit. So see if we can make this thing look kind of respectable. She's still going to be a beater though. Alright, so I've sprayed the car down with the car wash and iron eater all in one, just trying to cut corners there. And you'll see where this stuff actually works. I'll give you a proof of how it works. See, everywhere that there is metal, it goes purple. Purple, right around here, purple. And where there's no metal, no purple. So it does work. I don't know exactly what it does, but it looks impressive. Something's happening. But obviously you can see it's only going purple where there is metal. So it obviously is some sort of chemical situation. I'm looking at this thing as I'm cleaning up. Already, by the way, lift noise is completely gone. It's slowly disappeared. I'm so stoked on that. The thing is actually quiet as a church mouse. Like you can just hear that thermo fan running, just humming away. And the back end here, hardly even exhaust. So anyway, let's whip out the pressure washer and hose this thing off. Man, I'm getting excited. It's running. If I had air in those tires, I could go for a spin. Interesting. Okay, so after the other day, gave the car a clean off, as you've seen, it actually come up really nice. I brought it in the shed that night and I just started farting around, just sort of cleaning some stuff up, didn't capture all that on film. A little bit boring, cleaned all the door jams up, just so when I'm working on it, it's nice and clean. It was disgusting. I also, on the other side there, I ended up popping off the front right-hand guard so I could get to the door hinges, so I could adjust the door. The door never sat right, the pins were loose and it was dropping down. Anyway, a lot of rooting around, but both doors actually work and both door handles work, which is actually incredible for these models. As everyone knows, the door handles are terrible. So now I finally got it back on the hoist and yeah, today basically I want to tackle lowering it. So don't worry about the tuning or how it runs or servicing or any of that stuff. We're just going to get it low because that's what's more important. So what I did was I picked up a set of FG XR6 Ute springs. I was lucky enough to find these. Apparently they fit straight into an XG. I may need to lineage down one of the bushings to make it work, but apart from that, they're meant to be a direct fit. And the good thing about running an XR6 rear spring is that it's going to lower the car 1.5 inches straight off the bat, which is obviously a lot closer to where we want to be. And then from there we can bang a little bit more of a block in there and adjust it a bit better than just banging a 4-inch block and having these springs that they drag on the ground from the get-go. So I scored them for $50, so that's a bonus. I'm gonna have a crack at swapping these out today and maybe throw a set of wheels, or at least 2 wheels on them that is holding air, and then from there we'll make our way through the front. Alright, so got those leaves out. That's the first one I've ever done springs on a hoist, and let me tell you, it is so much better than rolling around on the ground, which is usually how I roll. So I've got the old spring and the new spring next to each other. You'll see here the height difference straight away. So we'll straight over be a bit lower, and then I'll be putting blocks in it as well, but we're already halfway down. And apparently they drive a bit nicer as well. Don't know. For $50, I'm willing to give it a crack. So. Okay, so new leaf springs are now in the car. I did end up chopping the ends down by about probably 5 mil in total, and then they slip straight in, no worries. All the other bushings, everything was sweet. I just greased everything up, slipped it all in. I've bolted everything up. Not firm. Obviously, you want to tension it up once it is on the ground. It's got tension with weight on the car. I forgot to hit record when I dropped these springs in, but no big deal. Leaf springs slide straight in, piece of piss. So now that that is in place, I'm going to call it a night because I haven't got the right U-bolts. The blocks are a small pin. I need a big pin block. Don't know how I got that wrong. I bought these years ago anyway. So anyway, I'm going to sit wheels on the car, lower it down, and then see how it sits and then work out where I want to go with it anyway. So anyway, that's going to be it for tonight. I'll throw some wheels on it. Maybe I might even put some globes on it that I got in the shed. Yeah, lower it down and see how it sits. It's going to be way too high still. This is it for the night. Get this last wheel on so I can get it down and off the hoist. So I can bring the Tirana back in tonight. I always like to bring the Tirana in and put it on the hoist at night because that thing is clean as a whistle. We want to keep it that way. These globes are the ones that came off our XF that we got at the auctions. I don't remember, last year, the year before, probably the year before. There was an auction at the Extreme Auto Expo. We won the XF. Can't remember what we paid for it, but we done a bit of a number on it. As we do, these wheels went on it temporarily. They were only on it for probably 2 weeks, and then the car sold and it went with the original wheels that came on the car. So I kept these aside. I put them up for sale. No one wanted them. Don't know why. They're ready to go, the red walls, but luckily they didn't because they're going to make a perfect addition to this bad boy. And can't wait to see what it looks like on the ground. It actually looks a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be way higher. It's still too high. Still too high though. Okay, so we got the XG back on the hoist. Jacked the front up. Front wheels have come off. And I figured now is as good a time as any to tackle the front suspension. While I was out and about doing some running around today, I picked up a set of 2-inch lowering blocks and U-bolts. So we can adjust the back end, whether I use the full 2 inches or whether I cut it down and adjust it that way. I'm not sure just yet, but we want to get the front somewhat close anyway, because we need to sort of fine tune it along the way. And I've always made the mistake of cutting too far and then you can't go backwards. So we're going to just nip a little bit off this thing now. Ideally, we'd disassemble this front end, but of course, I don't know where my spring compressors are. The side ones are a pain in the ass anyway. While this guard off is good a time as any to start cutting. I'm going to cut into this spring completely assembled. If you just take little bite-sized pieces, you can usually cut it, wiggle them out, and save a lot of time. Definitely ghetto. I definitely do not recommend it, but it's doable. So let's get cutting. Turn the power on first. I hate this bit. It's gonna explode. If you actually put the wheel back on the car, lower the car back on it, the pressure will break it, but it's a lot of work. Come on. Fuck you. The anxiety that I create by being lazy. The longer it takes, the scareder I get. There it goes. It was nothing. It wasn't even scary. Sometimes it goes bang, like real bad. Not today. Today it was nothing. There it goes. That was the bang I was waiting for. Now I just got to wiggle this bit out. All right, quick rattle pack, VHT, cast iron, best color there is. Literally I gave it the quickest wire brush. I didn't even spray it with brake cleaner, I just hit it. It's gotta be better than nothing. It's better than a rusty rotor anyway. Notice the chrome sockets. Never cracked one yet. Okay, so it is the next morning and I took the XG out of the shed. I just drove it out and made everything settle to see how it sits, and it actually it's settled a lot nicer than I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be a hell of a lot higher. I've got 2-inch blocks for the back, but I actually think that's going to be too much. By the time I put anything in the back of this thing, I'm going to be on the bump stops really quickly. It's actually sitting pretty nice. So if we look back here, we're only sort of realistically probably an inch from the top of that tyre. And so having it sit well over an inch below is probably maybe even a touch lower than I got my LTD here, which is obviously going to look awesome, but practicality is going to be out the window. But look, I've got the 2-inch blocks already, so I'll probably put them in anyway. And then from there, I can always nip a little bit off if I find it's too much. But also you got to bear in mind, I've got these air shocks to go in, which I can adjust the height, especially when it comes to load. So if I put a bit of shit in the back that's a bit heavy, I can bump a bit more pressure into those shocks and lift the rear end a little bit that way. So I've always got that to play with. So we can always come back up, even though it's going to go against the grain to lift a car. The front settled, and I'm sort of, nearly 2 inches. I'm sort of nearly 2 inches above the tyre here. So we're going to have to come down a little bit more in the front, but it's okay. These front springs look like they are, like they've been done. It looks like a Petter's spring because it's a red spring in there and it's got some Munro shocks in there. So hopefully it's in reasonable shape. So I could probably nip another half a coil off the front there and that will sort of settle that front out pretty good. Even this side you can see, only about an inch off that tyre. So looking pretty good. Obviously I need to red wall these front tyres to make them suit the rear. This thing's looking really nice. So I'll keep chipping away today, see what progress we can make. I'll finally get this front bar off. I'll try and hang that guard again, make it look like a car again. And don't know how far we'll get with this thing on this video, but it'll look better. We got problems. So, I recently bought this from Tough Lift to go with my hoist. It's gonna make jobs like this heaps easier. I actually bought this so I could finally do the exhaust and the Sandman. It's gonna come in handy today. That'll do. Still pretty ghetto. Oh, shit, that is way heavier than I thought it was going to be. Well, I do not recommend doing it like this. That was stupid. Look at this thing, it looks cross-eyed. Strip that bumper off, strip the bull bar off the bumper, somehow tidy that bumper so it looks somewhat respectable, slap it back on the car and then readjust these headlights. Alright guys, it's that time of the video now where I remind you all that the Iron Empire online store is still packed and loaded, ready with all the merch for you guys to jump on, pick up. If you guys want to support the channel, if you like what you see, if you like the merch that we got, the support goes a long way. Now, it is that time of year also where the sun's coming out, we're getting excited, it's feeling a bit more like summer, but we still have freezing cold mornings, so you might not need a full-blown winter setup, but we do have some long sleeve t-shirts like the one I'm wearing here, with Iron Empire on the sleeve and the X'd up tools on the pocket. And also, don't forget guys, we have the black and grey flannies with the X'd up tools in orange. So, also obviously we still have a bunch of hoodies with a camo print on them, black ones with the grey, new camo hats. There's plenty guys, so once again, if you want to support the channel, of course you don't have to, instead just hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. But if you want to support, jump on, grab some threads, and it is greatly appreciated. Now, let's get back to this car. Tech tip today, so I'm just putting on these wheels again, and I only threw on a couple of wheel nuts last time. This car sat in the paddock for many, maybe 2 years, with not all the wheel nuts on, so that all the lug nuts are all, all the studs were rusty as anything. So then I've gone to put these shank nuts in the mag wheel, which is like an interference fit basically, And if it's not fully aligned perfectly, they're just a fucking nightmare. And I usually don't think ahead, and then I'm struggling. For example, this one here, obviously you always want to start off by hand, but that one there is pretty gritty. So my little tech tip is use one of the old nuts rather than ramming on a brand new nut, especially when you're trying to keep the chrome in good shape, which is hard to do with Chinese chrome. Get yourself some grease, get it started, and then ram it in and back out. Go further. Make life easy for yourself. Eventually it'll get like this. Oh. That one's making a lie out of me. So now that that's fallen on and off and the threads are totally loaded in grease, it should be way easier to get the good nuts on. Okay, we've gone right back up once again on the Tough Lift hoist, probably for the billionth time in the last 2 days. Now, I've actually gone in and just welded on a couple of these brackets. These brackets, like this light was literally not even fixed. There's 2 tabs that are fixed to the body, both broken. 1 tab fixed to the guard, also broken. The actual plastic tab on the light, also broken. This light was just hanging on by hopes and dreams, and this one here, one of the tabs was nearly broken through, the other one was still hanging on, and the guard tab, I don't know because the guard's not actually on the car, but so this one's flapping around too. But once we put the guard on, we should be a lot better. I've also lubricated everything up. So the bonnet never used to pop. The safety latch never used to work. Everything just needed using and greasing. So I've done all that. Also lopped another ½ inch out of the front. Sorry, another half a coil out of the front. So hopefully that's near enough to where we want it. Now we're in the back yet again. So now it's a matter of just throwing these 2-inch blocks in the rear and see how it sits. Hopefully the fact that I've had this car apart in the rear end on these springs means it's going to be quite simple because everything's nothing seized up anymore. So let's throw some blocks in the back. Hopefully we can do it in record time and see how it sits.
I wish that I was there.
Once again, if you're looking at buying a 4-poster hoist, I cannot suggest this center jack enough. It has been an absolute lifesaver. Best thing I've ever purchased, aside from the hoist itself.
Sometimes I wish I could say no. It's usually when I feel I should die. And I fail you.
All right, there we have it. Now, the official time for doing those blocks is, I have no idea because I forgot to set a timer. Well, I didn't actually even attempt to set a timer, but I'll tell you what, it wasn't much over 10 minutes. Call it 15. Camera's filthy. The thing slammed in the rear. It looks sick. I'm gonna pull the tools out, drop it on the ground, drive it out, have a look.
Taking all my hope. You've left me here alone, and I don't know the things I have to do to keep myself afloat. And I don't know exactly how I'll get out of this one, this one, this one, this one, and I say.
Okay, so where we are at under here, when it comes to the air ride part of this build, is you'll see me installing some 1,000-year-old air shocks. Now these I think are Munro, don't matter, doesn't matter. They're air shocks, they've been around forever. You'll see them back in the day on a lot of towing vehicles, and it is exactly how it sounds. It takes air in the shock and it basically replaces your standard shocks. Now these things are old as the hills. You can still buy them new, but it's pretty rare nowadays. You don't see people running this stuff. People tend to run like a air assist nowadays, with like an airbag over the diffs, you know, maybe over the leaf spring or over the top of the diff housing or whatever. But anyway, I want to try something super budget, low cost. These come off Marketplace. I can't remember, they might have been like $50 or something stupid. Basically they are simply run by the thinnest little dinky toy of a eighth inch airline, which is like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 mil I think. And this is usually what you'd run, like something super small. The only time I've ever used this stuff is when I run like the gauges. You run from your air tank or your air, all your lines to your gauges, so you can see how much pressure you've got in each line. I keep hitting my head. But this is how these things run. It is nothing. It's literally the smallest little bit of airline, and it literally runs to a, what do you call it? I can't remember what the guy called it. It's just basically like an air, like a tire, like a little tire valve, Farrell or something. I don't know. But basically we're going to do the most basic little setup, which pretty much consists of an airline from one side to the other, a T-piece, and it's going to go to the back with a little air fitting so we can pump it up at the servo with an air compressor. If I want to get fancy down the track, we can throw a little air compressor in this car so we can do it on site. But otherwise, this is just simply going to give us air assist, load assist when it comes to loading the shit in the back of this thing. I wanted this thing nice and low, which basically means it's more or less on the bump stops or not far off. So how do we carry shit in the back? We run air ride, and then we add a bit of strength that way. So I'm just going to do a basic little T-piece in here. Get this from an industrial fittings place. I think all the fittings, including the airline, was like, I don't know, $40, maybe not even. So I'm going to get a little bit of thread tape so I can do this all properly, and then we'll movie magic this all up.
Keep myself afloat, and I don't know exactly how I'll get out of this one, and I say you've taken all my hope. You've left me here alone when I don't know exactly how I'll get out of this one, and I say
Eyebrow height is 625 with no air in these shocks. So I'm going to go ahead and put a bit of air in, see what we get. Unfortunately, I don't have a tire gauge. I've only got my makeshift one, which won't tell me a pressure. You're meant to always run a minimum of 20 PSI in these things. Otherwise they can fuck out. So hopefully that hasn't happened to these ones, and hopefully they hold air. But for now, we're just going to get a bit of air in it and see what happens. So 625 to the eyebrow. Here we go. Oh yeah. Now, of course, I have no idea how much pressure that just took. I assume there's a maximum you can put in there. I don't know. I haven't researched any of that. But you obviously just seen how much it lifted up. That has now got us at 68. 68. I'm bad at maths, but let's call it 65 because that was a lot of pressure. Probably more than you'd get at a, you know, at a servo. So let's call that 40 mil of lift, and who knows how much pressure that will take. But obviously once you've got a lot of weight in the car, you might not necessarily lift it higher, but it's going to have a lot more tension on those springs. And yeah, it'll handle the weight carry. So whether that holds pressure short term, long term, who knows, but I can't hear anything leaking. You can go around all the fittings with a little bit of suds, spray it on there. If you see any bubbles, obviously you'll know you've got a leak, but I can't hear anything too obvious, and I'm not going to research because I don't really care. This is just an experimental. To let it down, we literally press the button like you would let air out of a tire. Go into the back here, press the little valve, and it is going to come down so slowly. And I'm not sure if that even fully, I'm not sure that fully relaxed. That's what it was. Oh yeah, it's back to what it was. All right, so there you go, full success. Now, obviously you can get creative with this. If you wanted to go full ghetto spec and wanted to have like a fully slammed car, you could even go a bigger block, which is a bit ghetto, or we could remove some leaves from this pack and get the thing to sag right down, chop the bump stops, and this thing could sit like nearly on the rim, and then use the air shocks to pump it back up again. Or if you wanted to go even better again, you could actually run like a coil over, like an airbag over coil, which is another way of doing it. But anyway, the sky's the limit with what you can do. But for now, we're just going to run it like that and see how it handles. Alright, so there you have it, guys. The XG is finally done for this time round. Now I'm hiding in the car because it's a little bit windy outside, but I'm pretty happy with how this thing comes out. It looks way cleaner. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have picked up on that front bar. It is sitting like all crooked. I've just thrown that on there just to wrap up this video. But I've had my mate Adam here this week giving me a hand, and we used a new tool that I got from China to plastic weld that thing up. And we just got a little bit more filler work to do, and then that is ready for primer and then paint. So all that will be in an upcoming episode, including some paint and panel repairs on this thing. I'm not going to go too far because obviously I want to keep it as a beater because I want to be able to use this thing as a ute and not have to worry about it. But we'll get rid of some of the rust that it's a little bit ugly on that sill panel, and yeah, fix up a few little bumps and bruises around the place. But otherwise, pretty happy with how this thing turned out. I also have a little bit of a plan on going forward with what to do with this interior, and yeah, aside from that, I'm going to drive it. It's going to be cool. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff, and yeah, we'll see you on another one. Cheers, guys.